Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is October 30th, 2021, and my name is Leslie Williams. And this is going to be an informative video. And I'm going to kind of warn you from the get-go here. This video hopefully will turn out to be a very good video. But it's going to be exposing a subject matter where all of the information that I would like to be able to describe in this video, I am admitting right now, my brain has not linked it all together in reference to the subject matter in order to be able to formulate the language to in-depthly describe the subject matter. So meaning that, stay tuned, because when it comes to the subject matter, as I continue to do more contemplation and then have, in order to come to a bigger conclusion about the depth of the subject matter, I will then be able to expose more related to the overall aspect of the subject matter. Just bear with me, okay? Now check this out. You definitely want to watch this video. Now what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to first introduce to you a couple things concerning thought composition, concerning how human beings create their own thought processes. You'll understand why as I continue to talk. My initial statements are going to be to lay the foundation, and then the follow-up statements will be done to introduce the subject matter pertaining to the specific subject matter of this video, and then to include some other additional statements that are going to help you see how the those statements apply to the foundation and the what is presented right after that. Now, while I'm making this video, let's see if anybody starts hanging around me, acting crazy. Let's see if a lot of noise starts. I am referring to organized stalking, gang stalking, crime, staged events, staged harassment, staged noise campaigns, and much more. Okay, and also let's see if anything happens to this video before I say thank you for listening. Have a good day. And let's also see if this video is not allowed to be uploaded. I am tape recording my statements right now on a running recording digital tape recorder. Now, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into a metaphorical example concerning how human beings compose thoughts and things that assist in thought composition. Now, so let me give you an example. Say if you're, and I've used this example in other videos, but so for my loyal regular followers, if you've heard these types of examples before, just be patient, because consider that sometimes a lot of people who will be watching my videos will probably stumble across this video before they stumble across the other ones. So I kind of want to give, and plus it's a great metaphorical example as well. And so it brings home, you know, and ties in real well with the overall subject matter. So just bear with me if you're a regular loyal follower. Okay, so let me give an example of what I mean concerning thought composition and how the following example plays a huge role in it. Now, so let's say that you're at a mall and you're with your husband and you've been shopping all day. And so you went to 5 different stores and you think to yourself, okay, so it's time that I go home. So you say to yourself, it's time to go home, but I don't really feel like going home and making a big dinner because I'm tired, because we've been shopping all day. So they might both agree on getting some takeout from a Mexican restaurant. Let's put it that way, right? So they see where they're at in reference to where they're physically at concerning the mall that the 5th place they went to, which was a mall. So they see where they're physically at, and then they also know where they're going, home. So what they sit back and say is, what do you feel like eating? So they say, I'm in the mood for Mexican. So they make the conclusion about what they want to eat, and then their brain starts processing, okay, we want to get Mexican food, but we want to get it on the way home. So what the brain will then start doing is you can consider this in this moment in time, in this explanation, to where you just look at the brain as a Rolodex. You know, those little Rolodex things that you can put on your desk that kind of hold a bunch of different phone numbers or other types of information. What the brain will start doing is the brain will start retrieving memory references based on Mexican restaurants that you have visited before that are either in your neighborhood of where your home's at or not too far from it. Excuse me. so they can go to that Mexican restaurant on their way home in order to get what they want to get, and then take it home and eat it. So they've already made the choice that they don't want to cook. They've already made the choice that they want to get Mexican food. And so the brain will start retrieving where they want to get Mexican food at on the way home. So then the brain will start remembering what Mexican food restaurants, okay, are available to them and which ones they prefer out of those amount of choices. Now, the reason why I went out of my way to state all this, and I know you know what I mean, because these are common things that the vast majority of everyone does once they get to be about 15, 16 years old. And these are things that all human beings do over time. So, the reason why I chose that simple metaphorical example is because I wanted to immediately represent to you about how our visual memory references play a role in our current thought composition. Now, thought composition is basically where you are putting together your thoughts in order to then act on them. Here's another case in point. Say that you get up on a Saturday morning and you decided on Friday you were going to go for a bike ride on Saturday. So you get up on Saturday morning, you get dressed, and you go out into the garage to get your bike and discover that it's got a flat tire. So you say to yourself, well, I don't have any extra inner tubes, so I got to go to Walmart I got to go get inner tubes. And so the brain will start thinking, where can you go to get inner tubes at a place that's affordable and that's in your area? The brain will start reviewing what's available in your neighborhood for this purpose, and it will come up, and what it will do is it'll streamline that visual memory reference of Walmart. We all do this every day. So visual memory references play a huge role in current thought composition. Thought composition being how we compose our thoughts in real time based on whatever is motivating that thought and what the thought is about. So I gave you two simple metaphorical examples concerning thought composition and how memory references play a role in current thought composing. Composing means putting together something, in this case, thoughts, so that you can come to a conclusion and then act on the thoughts. Now, why is this important in gang stalking? Well, consider this and consider this well. When you go to Google, write down my descriptions. When you go to Google and you type in remote neural monitoring and memory mapping and memory stimulation, then go to Google and research how remote neural monitoring monitors the gang stalking victim remotely, neurally, from a distance, then we can start to see that what's exposed online concerning that, it's widely and massively stated that remote neural monitoring affords these 6 satanic mass murdering raping animals the ability to monitor your visual and auditorial cortex and all your neurological processes and biological processes, obviously including the central nervous system. So they are able to monitor what the brain and body is processing. Oh, look at that, ain't that cute? They're able to monitor what the brain and body is processing, and it's also widely, massively reported that they will record what the body and neurological systems are processing. So you see this tree right now as a direct result of me showing it to you. As a direct result, your optical nerve is transferring that visual imagery to your retina, to your visual cortex. It then becomes a visual memory reference to this parking lot and this location. Okay? Absolutely. So, if there was a specific type of bird, okay, that had a nest up in that tree and you were a bird watcher, you might create a memory reference if you saw that bird go into the tree, especially on more than one occasion. In case the next time you come here, you might think to yourself, well, I want to see the little birdie. Your brain will instantly retrieve that tree and make it part of your current thought composition. Now, why is this important in gang stalking crimes? When you research memory mapping and memory stimulation of gang stalking, when you research remote neural monitoring and the fact that they record what the eyes see, what you see becomes a visual memory, including what you see when you're dreaming becomes a visual memory at the unconscious and subconscious level. What you need to understand is that in gang stalking, these 6 satanic mass murdering filthy whores who are hosting this crime, totally criminally insane animals, they know all this. Doctors and scientists are in control of remote neural monitoring. And the satanic rats who are paying and funding them are directly connected to the doctors and scientists take orders from the people who are funding them. Okay? So, and by the way, who's some of the main implicated hosts of this crime? The CIA, the NSA, the DOD, and the DIA, along with the DHS, FBI, state, county, and local police, and doctors and universities, hospitals, medical centers, and medical clinics, all working together as an up and operating nationwide organized crime syndicate within the system at the federal, state, and local level. So, these little criminally insane maggots, they know all this because we are talking about neuroscientists, neuroforensics, neuropathology, neuropsychiatry, neuropsychology, and much more. So these are doctors working in concert together with each other, along with psychologists and then the satanic rats who they're taking orders from concerning what they want to do to the victim. So if you are a gang stalking victim, and let's just say, for example, you found yourself to be in an abusive relationship, everything you see happening to you when somebody's coming towards you and they're going to attack you and then that becomes a visual image, a visual memory reference, right? If somebody's treating you like shit verbally, that becomes an auditory memory. Now, it's widely reported that these filthy whores are monitoring and recording everything the victim sees and hears and much more through this satanic technology. So what they'll do then, and what's reported that they're doing, is that they will use many other different means in order to retransmit that data back into the victim's brain to force the visual and auditory cortex to reprocess it over and over and over again for the sake of auditory and visual brain entrainment. Okay? So imagine being forced to see a traumatic memory 300 times in one day. The visual aspects of it and some of the auditory dialogue that may have been connected to it. It's called the computer-to-brain link, the computer-to-brain feedback loop, and it's done for the sake of creating visually entrained neural loop pathways and neural loop networks. As a direct result of the constant, when a victim is forced to experience something over and over and over and over and over again that is identical, the brain will create a visually entrained pathway which then produces a potentiated frequency output from it. Therefore, any time it's re-experienced, the brain notices it, the potentiated frequency output fires, remote neural monitoring identifies it, latches onto it, and then you have in real-time neural hacking, which is the main motivation why they're doing it to begin with. You should also know when the victim is experiencing these traumatic memories over and over and over again, they are more than likely being created and attached to the limbic system to dissociated states because the brain is realizing that it's being traumatized. Do you ever wonder why 22 veterans are killing themselves every day? Based on extreme post-traumatic stress symptomologies. So anyways, the reason why I decided to continue to make this video was for the simple fact that if we as human beings are being neurally hacked remotely, non-consensually by a bunch of sadistic, wild, filthy whores who don't give a shit about what they do to anybody, consider this and consider this well. Do you think it's possible that ultrasonic sound waves can carry visual imagery? What do you do when you watch the TV? You're processing visual imagery, but you're also processing sound. If you ever watched the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, it's a good movie actually. And the reason why I'm bringing that movie to your immediate attention is because if you watch the movie Contact and you see how when they get that sound signal from outer space and they look at how it's repeated in identical prime numbers, okay, time duration and specific prime numbers, you'll see that what they're picking up, what they're receiving is nothing but a looped audio signal. But then later on, they discover there's an offset visual signal on it. So what do you think I mean by that, and why did I bring it up? Because the sound wave can carry visual imagery. And what are the two main functions concerning how they're using remote neural monitoring and gang stalking crimes? Visual and audio. Visual cortex and audio cortex. Why do you think voice is going, including with voice morphing, is going on in gang stalking? Why do you think the criminal use of holosonics is being used? Why do you think that the microwave hearing effect and ultrasonic sound is being used? These are all sound technologies. Why do you think it's reported that the visual cortex is forced to see horrific and disgusting and demented and depraved visual imagery purposely transmitted to the visual cortex of gang-stalking victims? Why do you think the gang-stalking victims are reporting that they're enduring artificial synthetic electronic dreams? Google all my statements to remote neural monitoring and gang-stalking crimes. So, if you extensively research my statements, you're going to see that the main two areas of the brain that remote neural monitoring is interfacing with is the auditorial and visual cortex for the purpose of doing things to the brain for visual and auditory entrainment. But do you think that it's possible for visual imagery to be put on an ultrasonic sound wave? Because remember, whenever they're transmitting visual imagery, okay, whenever they're transmitting visual imagery through remote neural monitoring to the visual cortex, if they can accomplish visual and auditorial brain entrainment at the same time, then they're killing two birds with one stone. Okay? Why do you think so many gang-stalking victims are stating they're experiencing voice to skull as they're experiencing visual imagery in the visual cortex? Because the voice to skull is auditorial, and the visual cortex imagery is visual. Okay? So, now, what's the additional main point here, though? Consider this and consider this well. If the visual imagery and any sound technology can be transmitted on an ultrasonic sound wave, then, especially if you got an ear implant in you, Google the hell out of all my statements, sweethearts and baby cakes. Consider this and consider this well. The ear is a fascinating mechanism. It's responsible for many, many different features and functions of the brain and the biological system. Oh, absolutely. So check this out. So let's say what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you some information so you can test this out yourself. Okay, now remember what I said at the very beginning of this video. Please excuse me if any information seems to not be totally complete pertaining to anything said in this video, including my follow-up statement. Because you got to remember, I'm just now learning about this. I'm still interlinking a lot of the data. But you better be damn sure right now what my mind is telling me. Like Einstein, he knew the theory of relativity before he was able to consciously put it all together in his mind and then to interpret it into language because of the way the brain interlocks previously known knowledge and then how it links in new knowledge to it. Okay? So, anyways, so consider this and consider this well. If, let's say you're married, right? And you had a big wedding. Now, wedding days are a milestone in most people's lives. So we have a lot of visual imagery memory connected to your wedding day. Or the birth of your first child. Okay? Or your high school graduation. Anything that was very significant that's happened into your life. Sit back, and especially if you got a picture that's related to it, sit back and look at that picture. Or sit back and say, I'm going to remember something that you specifically, immediately remember pertaining to an event that was very large and important to you. Wedding day, okay, engagement day, the day you got engaged, the day you got your first big job, the day you graduated, so on and so forth. So, when you sit back and you say to yourself, I'm going to remember, like, you know how sometimes you get in a car, okay, and you turn on the radio and a certain song comes on, and you remember how that song was linked to your childhood or your teenage years? Now, the reason why I'm telling you to do this is because when you think of anything that you know will instantly retrieve a visual imagery from a visual memory reference, a memory reference is something that your brain has already stored related to a memory. And then the reference has to do with either a subject matter, an event, a place, or an action, right? So think to yourself about how you, can imagine something or think about a subject matter that will bring up a memory reference, okay? And then as you're experiencing, and you got to do it fast too, as you're experiencing this stimulated visual memory, as soon as you do it, start humming or talking, or both. Now, the reason why I'm telling you to do that is because once you start processing that visual imagery of that visual memory reference, and then you start talking and or humming, does the talking and or humming immediately stop the visual imagery from being seen in your visual cortex? Now, why do you think I'm telling you this? Because in gang stalking crimes, if they're intentionally superimposing an offset carrier wave on the ultrasonic sound wave that carries the visual imagery, whenever your brain then processes another thing that has to do with sound, it's going to interfere with the processing of the ultrasound wave that's got the offset carrier wave that's got the visual imagery on it. So if you interrupt it by humming, singing, laughing, or talking, and that visual imagery instantly stops, then there's an extreme likelihood that ultrasonic sound is being used in order to carry the sound waves of the voice to skull, if you're experiencing voice to skull while you're experiencing the visual imagery, and then the same ultrasonic sound wave has got an offset carrier wave that's carrying the visual imagery. Okay, especially if you got an ear implant. Because if you got an ear implant in you, you got to remember ear implants operate by and through high and low band filtering. So they only got so many mechanisms within the ear implant that allow specific sounds, different distinguishing sounds, to be interpreted at once. Think about what I'm saying and think about it well. The reason why I decided to make this video are two main ones. One, to educate my fellow three. One, to educate my fellow gang stalking victims in case they're experiencing horrific, including endless, circular looped memory stimulation and visual imagery being transmitted into their visual cortex. Some victims are experiencing it 300-400 times a day, including through electronic synthetic dreams. So if you're experiencing this at any level, try it. Try to sing, talk, laugh, hum, or anything as you're noticing the visual imagery. And that can be hard to catch it all at once, to catch it immediately, because this stuff is being transmitted through the unconscious mind to the preconscious, the unconscious to the subconscious to the preconscious, and then the conscious layers. So, and it's being transmitted at a very fast time rate. So by the time your preconscious starts, subconscious, and then preconscious starts to process it before it gets into the conscious layers, a good chunk of it has already been realized because it transmits so fast. You got to remember, when you make a choice to sing, hum, or talk in order to interrupt it, that takes time. And by the time you make that choice to do it, there's a good chance that the visual imagery transfer will already be complete. But you can still give it a try, because sometimes they'll transmit long streams. It is my intention and my goal to expose these sick, filthy whores for what they are, and that's all they are, as mass murdering animals. Completely insane, demented, demonic, depraved, psychopathic, freaked out animal whores, and I hope every last one of them burn in hell. And I don't give a shit how that sounds. Let me tell you something about these wild animals. They're mass murdering people every single day, enslaving them, torturing them. Every single day. And they don't give a flying fuck about what they're doing to anybody. So I don't give a shit about what I say about them. Abso-fucking-lutely. And I don't care how I sound either. These sick wild animals have no right to do this to one person, let alone hundreds of thousands. Google all my statements. The second reason why I'm doing this is to inform the public, so they can become aware of what gang stalking victims are enduring. So in case anybody they know, or even themselves, start enduring it one day, they can at least try to make a comprehensive, conclusive understanding about their experiences, because this technology and the intentional perpetration of it, one of the main motivations of why they're doing it, is to intentionally, with complete malice of forethought and criminal intent, to drive the victim into psychosis in order to lock them up. Basically, they're intentionally trying to create insanity. That's how evil these sick fuckers are. They are completely criminally insane. They are literally the most depraved wild animals that have ever walked this fucking planet. I've seen doctors, scientists, researchers, professors, and thousands of educated victims say the same thing. Identical same thing. So I made this video in order to be able to showcase to you enough knowledge presented in layman terminology so you can understand it, and to give you enough descriptions so you can research it. My name is Leslie Williams. I proudly and happily expose these sick, filthy, satanic whores for what they are. And remember, the descriptions of who I stated is massively implicated in this video. Have a good day, everybody, and stay safe.